everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Oracle Speak. It is the eighth episode and our 8th month of doing this. And it feels like we've come a long way with a lot of changes in our format and the way we do it. And the main reason why we started doing this is because Aakanksha and I and our friends, we chat very regularly about how we're doing and how we're sensing things happen in the collective. And we feel like this conversation and this exploration is really juicy and very fruitful. And we wanted to share it with other people who are sensitive and intuitive so that we can all kind of journey together, because sometimes these things are not spoken about enough or in the language that we understand. And to make it in a context of South Asians talking about it from a perspective of the post-colonial world that we live in, and in a world where there's so much uncertainty, and we look to astrology, tarot, and spirit for support and guidance, but we don't want to let it take over, nor do we want to push it away to a point where we're not really receiving that support. So we're trying to create this space to just document our experiences from our personal and collective sensing. And yeah, so that's where we are. And also, I'm just going to share a little bit about how we've been feeling. The last time also, like, we took some time to release the episode because we felt like the day we recorded it, there was a lot of things that came up and we wanted to substantiate it with our entire experience. And even this time, we pushed the date of our session, and I was thinking, why are we being so inconsistent? And it's supposed to be, all proper, and we're just like all over the place. But then Shachi, who you may also know has been part of the previous episodes, she said something really beautiful. She was saying that we are bringing the feminine way into this world, and the experiences you've had over the last 1 week, and from the place that you will speak right now, and the information you'll share will carry all that experience. And therefore, the day and time that you'll have chosen is perfect for that. And that's when I realized, you know what, we're doing this with emergence as one of our key values. And that means being open to changes and uncertainty and allowing that little bit of disruption, right? We still continue. We don't, stop doing what we do, but we allow our movement to be informed by it. So I just thought I'd bring that in and share that with you because it's part of our creative process. And it happens to be the new moon today. We haven't done a session, I think, on the day of the new moon or full moon before. So this is very exciting because the way we speak will also be informed by the stillness of the new moon. And if I'm not wrong, the new moon is, I think, in a few hours. And right now the moon is in a neutral position where it's in no sign, and it's called void moon. So you might see us really channeling that feeling of just the void and of darkness and sitting in that wordless sensation. At least that's how I'm feeling. So just thought I'd bring that in. And today we can begin quickly with the astrology. So we're now in Cancer season. It began on the 21st of this month of June, on the day of the solstice, which is the longest day of the year as we know it. And it's also a day when we acknowledge the light aspect as well as the dark aspect. And remember that the light aspect and the parts of us that shine and are here to go outwards and expand will always be present, even when we feel ill at ease or discomfort, and to acknowledge the difficulties that we've had and consciously release and let go so that we can move forward with that integration. And the other thing is that Cancer season in general has a few words that come up, when I think about it. Emotion, water, since it's the water element, the energy of the Divine Mother, heart, home, and the ocean, for some reason, comes up to me when I think of Cancer season. A lot of deep feelings and emotion and awareness around it and mastery over it. Courage as well. The symbol of it is the crab. And the crab, as you know, has a really hard shell, but it's really soft on the inside. And Cancerians seem to have that tendency of like feeling like they've got it all together, but inside they're really vulnerable. Not at all the time, but they are very sensitive. Yeah, sensitivity is another word I connect to Cancer season. Yeah, so that's a little bit about where the sun is at. And today also the moon is going to move into Cancer, so there's a double effect of amplification. And new moon in Cancer is a time of setting intentions around our emotions, around our home, our intentions for the kind of space we want to create for ourselves, our emotional safety and boundaries, and maybe even our creativity, right? Because it all comes from the same space of our deep emotions. So today is a real good day to sit with that, sit in that stillness and really listen deeply and set intentions around how we would like to nurture and amplify our connection to our home, our stability, our roots, our emotions, our relationships, our connection with ourselves, of course, and really trying to see in what are the messages that I have been receiving through my experiences for the last few weeks that will allow me to now consciously make these decisions about the future for the weeks to come, for 2 weeks until the full moon. What do I want to spend my energy doing? And also 6 months later, when we have the Cancer full moon, what is it that I want? What is it that I want to manifest? How do I want my life to be? Who do I want to become when the Cancer full moon shines in the sky? So yeah, there's just a little bit of seed sowing intention setting that we can do around the new moon. And 15 days later, we're going to have the full moon in Capricorn. It's also going to be a super moon. So it's going to be really big, shining in the sky, very close to the earth. And we'll feel it very strongly. And I love Capricorn full moon because my rising is Capricorn. And for some reason, I feel like it's a good balance of celebration energy because full moon and you're harvesting all that you kind of worked on in the first month of the year. Usually, Capricorn new moons happen the last week of December or the first half of Jan when we're like all in this new year, new me energy, and we set out like, yeah, I'm gonna do all these cool things this year. So when the full moon in Capricorn comes, it brings a lot of blessings because that time is usually when we push ourselves to really, set intentions. So I really like the Capricorn full moon. It's very grounding. It brings a lot of joy and gratitude for me because you realize, okay, you know what, all the effort I've been putting in has now culminated to this. It's a good time to reflect on habits and also understanding the fact that there are times when we have challenges, but we go through it and then we receive that big, payoff. So it's a really beautiful full moon that's coming up. And apart from that, we also have the Sirius Gateway in the first week of July, which is there are many ways to experience it. Personally, I feel like I am a star seed that is from Sirius. I feel strongly connected. But even in our Indian scriptures, in the Egyptian cultures, even if you see the Atlanteans really revered and worshipped the star Sirius, which is like our spiritual sun. So like the sun gives us solar radiation and keeps us warm, Sirius, even though it's much further away, it's in our galaxy and its radiation send a lot of spiritual healing and information to us through our light bodies that we don't necessarily consciously experience. But before I knew about these things, I always knew that in July and August, I receive a lot of dreams, a lot of inspiration. I didn't know why. But then when I did some research, I found out that, oh, it's because I connect to Sirius. And therefore, every time in July and August, I receive a lot of Sirian energy and downloads. So if you are one of them, this would be a really interesting time to just meditate and to observe. Like you might receive some very key information about your purpose in this lifetime. You might also be able to receive healing. So if you have this issue in your life that you've been working with and are struggling with, you can just ask for healing and support through this time from your guides or just from source directly or the universe, and ask your consciousness to integrate this healing. So that is available to us the first week of July and also coming through August during the Lionsgate portal. So just be open to these things. And there's a lot you can read on the internet about it. So feel free to explore, and you can also reach out to us if you want to ask. And lastly, I just want to cover a little bit about the dancing around that's happening between Mars and Jupiter and Chiron. So they're all in Aries. So Mars is a very fiery, forward moving, masculine planet. Jupiter is an expansive, abundant planet. And Chiron is the energy of a wounded healer. It's a comet. So now imagine forward moving, expanding, wounded healer energy. So how that comes through is the fact that we're seeing a lot of things happening in the world that are causing us to spiral and break down so we can ascend, heal, and expand. So there's a little bit of wounding so that healing can happen. So you might see this happening around us, where things that we want are not happening, and therefore we have to step even more in our sovereignty and like really make sure that the environment doesn't affect us and we are clear in our purpose and our path. So you might see a lot of that happening. And the other thing is that Mars, again, the forward moving, fiery masculine planet, is square, which is like a difficult aspect with Pluto in Capricorn. And Pluto is about death and rebirth, and Capricorn is systems. So there's a lot of system related back and forth messiness and like tension, which you might notice, and it's been going on and it will continue to go on. But right now it's a very heated time. So you might notice yourself picking up this energy that is in the collective. You might also notice it in your personal life. But to just know that it's something that's going to move through us, and it might be difficult right now, but in the long run, this needed to happen so that we can be the agents of change that we're meant to be for the times that are to come. And it is when things collapse that we realize what we're here to build and create. So it's important for us to have energetic practices that allow us to ground in our own energy and push out the chaos so that we can see clearly what is to come forward before us and not constantly turn back every time those things come up. Yeah, so that's a bit of the astrology, cosmic skies giving us messages and reflecting to us all that is happening now, within and without. And now I'm going to pass it on to Aakanksha for some tarot.
Thank you, Aarti. So I pulled out one message for all of us, for all of humanity for today from the Mother Peace deck. And it's very interesting because we got a Son of Cups. So if you look at this card, it's an egg shaped, and there is sky and there is water, it's the ocean, and there's a male figure who's sitting at the center. And then there is a dhatura flower, but this is like a shell in which it sits. So a lot of things that Aarti spoke about are already reflected through the message of this card. For example, there is so much of energy available right now. So it's also a time, and there is a lot of forward moving energy, right? Which is also like a very, in a very masculine energy is how we connect with that motion. Yeah. And here it's a very different image of a man, if you look at it. So this is also about using that energy for reflection, for peaceful, meditative, grounding, or recognizing your artistic visions, or getting in touch with your deeper feelings, innermost desires, and actually allowing them to come to the surface. So here we are actually looking at the sacred masculine's energy, rather than we can go into the wounded part, which the world is going through actually right now. So to bring this energy into our lives, that's one message. Now there is another thing about this card. It's also talking about the union. Yeah, because the figure is actually sitting in a yogic pose, and yoga is about yoking or about union. Yeah, where now how it is depicted here, if you see it, that the water and the sky, and through its body, through the body, the masculine is actually joining these two. Yeah, so coming in touch with watery realms, the feeling realm, and also coming in touch with the messages, the visions, visions from the divine energy. Yeah. So both of those are available at this time, and to take some moments for reflection, for personal space, contemplation. Yeah, that would be really helpful at this point. That's another kind of an action. It's like an inner action. The other thing that this card also represents is that the opening of the heart. Yeah, letting really letting your gifts of sensitivity to be available to you. So that's a bigger message. Not to shy away from our sensitivities, yeah? But tapping into the gift of your own sensitivity. You may even fall in love. Anything can happen. The heart is opening up. Yeah. And it's also a time of pleasure, to experience pleasure. Very opposite to what the message is going on in the world, how we are seeing the crumbling and the pain. Yeah. This is asking us a very completely opposite, I would say, focus in ourselves. So that's about the tarot's message. Anything you want to, anything comes up for you, Aarti? Okay. All right then.
Yeah, that was really on point. The Son of Cups. I think it summarizes how we're feeling as well, right? Like being in an egg, feeling all our feelings and realizing that expanded self. Yeah, really beautiful. And that image on the mother piece is just no words. Yeah, and thanks so much for condensing that reading and yeah, sharing it with us.
Yeah, I felt very happy when I saw this card because I saw a very different image of a man, of a masculine energy. And like what a healing energy it can be for the woundedness. And especially we are going through a lot of wounding of the masculine that is rising more and more. Yeah. So I completely loved this message today.
Yeah, and I think connecting also to our last episode, we were talking about how the wounded feminine has now been shown in so many of the movies and shows that we're watching. Like I watched Turning Red, and it was about a little girl and her mother and their tussles. And there's so much love that the wounded feminine needs from themselves, from and like even in the feminine sisterhood, but also from men. And yeah, so definitely, and it's also Pride Month, so it's really about acknowledging that woundedness that exists and the healing antidote that is also present and available. Maybe in a small number, but it is there, and the hope is that we kind of amplify, support, nurture, and receive from it. We need it urgently.
And also the card which Akanksha pulled out, I had, when I saw it, I had one more interpretation which can be connected to the thing of intention setting and creation, is that if you look at it biologically, creation is the coming together of an egg and a womb. Like, so the egg and the flower, the datura flower, like felt like a womb. So that is also, maybe, I don't know, it is my own interpretation, but like now something, I mean, on the lines of where people are going to be healing themselves, and then combining the earth and the heavenly energies, and then creating something new is also kind of a theme which can be seen. Yeah, I know, this is what I thought.
Actually, very good interpretation, Saylee. Because how I connected that today's energy is really an energy of birthing,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
beginning which comes through birth. and it's a pretty scary process to go through, right? To move from the womb and into the world. And it's such a safe thing to be in the womb. Yeah.
Hmm.
So beginning is also, when look at conception is one kind of beginning, and then birthing is another kind of beginning. And the energy of today's this Cancer new moon is like that energy of beginning by birthing, right?
Hmm.
So you very well pointed it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your interpretation. It really brought depth to the experience.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just something I realized. So
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can move into the cosmic updates bit, which is really just
yeah.
a chat where we're going to share about what we're picking up and experiencing, and maybe there's more of us feeling the same crazy stuff. So it'll be good if you could also chime in. And yeah, so I'll just share this. Like, one of the things that I noticed in the last few weeks really strongly, and one of the reasons why personally I wanted to take some time before sharing with you guys, is because I was picking up so much of the stuff from the collective unconscious. It felt like there was this portal of unprocessed stuff just like oozing out, and I had no choice but to feel it and move through it. And it's not like I had anything going on in my life. My life was relatively stable, but I could still feel like there was so much. Like, there were days that I was crying and I didn't know why. There were times when I was just like going in circles and I didn't know why. Then I realized, oh, I'm not the only one. This is happening to many people around me, and there is something that we're moving through. There's something we're transmuting. That was serious. So if you felt like this in the last few weeks, know that you're not the only one. So I think that was a major awareness and realization that it's important for me to have my energy hygiene practices in place. It was only when I realized that, and I realized that, okay, as a sensitive person, this is something that I end up doing and placing my boundaries in certain ways, taking out time just for myself. I soaked in some water that usually helps me. Just take that time to breathe and not do anything else, and have a conversation with people who can really listen and hold space to just really understand that this is something that's happening, and it's okay. Because I've also felt like a lot of self-doubt, and I realized I was gaslighting myself in my head and telling myself, you're so sensitive, what's wrong with you, oh, you're crazy, and all this kind of like voices. You feel too much, you're useless. Like, it really was amplified. Look, okay, like, I have dark thoughts and I know how to manage this, but this felt different. I don't know how it was for you guys, but for me it really felt like it was like I was in a dark room with my emotions and it was just bubbling. And I'm exaggerating and like giving you all graphical visions and visuals because I want you to understand like that it's a bit different from the usual. Um, so yeah, I also think it's going to happen more as we go. It's not something that's going to stop, because the world as we know it is changing radically with each day, and the collective unconscious seems to be overpopulated and like having volcanic eruptions like this every now and then. So it's more about learning to equip ourselves, finding our support systems, finding practices, finding professionals who can help, finding time off. Yeah, so that's, I think, how we go ahead. And I'm going to ask Akanksha to continue and add some input.
So yeah, we have been going through this clearing and purging energy quite strongly and at a very rapid speed. So the spiraling down is also very quick, and so is the coming out of it. If you have to look at it, it's like, you keep looking at in the distance in a dark void. Yeah. And it may feel like I'm going to get sucked into it, and then there comes the light right from there. you know so it was that kind of a rapid transmutation of old stuff and old patterns during this time. And I think that energy is held by this new moon. It's providing us much more healing energy to be able to go through this. That's one of the things. What would be an antidote for a time like that? Yeah. I think the only thing that kept continuously showing up was heart space, expansion of the heart space. Yeah. Embodiment of love. How will I feel or open up myself to love when I don't feel there is any love? So it could be compassion for myself in my most difficult thoughts or memories that are showing up. It could be even like compassion for another person, who's triggered me so much, or feeling compassion even towards the breakdown in the world. Yeah, I think that's the healing energy, like the vaccination for this time. um I also picked up another theme of um, belonging and isolation. Yeah. uh, Feeling like we have been shoveled and thrown into marginalized communities, like this is also the Pride month. Yeah, it's also really expressing the diversity of our own being. Yeah, there is diversity of race, there is diversity of gender, there is diversity of sexuality, and there is a diversity of personalities, that each one of us is a very different being. We are very diverse. Yeah. And if we would just accept our diversity on how we are wired, how is our mental makeup, yeah, even that showing up. So a more um, energetic force towards inclusion of diversities in human species. Yeah, so that has been another theme.
Yeah. And in some way also, right, moving away from the dominant culture that we are so used to, where only the thing that's most productive and happens the fastest and looks the best wins. But how about we just allow everything as is, space to coexist and to bloom? And what would that look like, whether it is within us, in our immediate surroundings, in our relationships, and then also as an extension in the systems that we create? And what would that be like?
Yeah, I think how to move forward during the next 15 to 20 days will be very much determined on how we are able to um, ground ourselves and work with this supercharged energy which is given to us. Yeah? So rather, a lot of pull to direct it will be there. So from direction, also seeing where is the flow taking me. Yeah. So that's another thing to look at. And yeah, I don't think anything else is coming to my mind, Aarti.
Yeah, and just like closing with what you just said, there are moments when I feel very overwhelmed when I tap into this transmutation that is happening through us. And I wonder, like, okay, there is clarity that I need to move forward. But in this moment, I feel very muddled up with the the darkness that is moving through me, which I know that has its space, but it's not me. I'm still sitting with that, and I'm like, okay, I'm meant to do this, I'm meant to create this, and yet it's not emerging, or it's happening slowly. And if you're in that place, and many of us are, it's just a reminder that this time is giving us those important pieces to integrate into our vision. And it's when we, through these challenging times, through these lessons that we're learning, we have more and more control over our energetic field. We are more and more aware of our boundaries. We know what we need to take care of ourselves, because when we are solid, even in the middle of the chaos and the storm, which is something that our circumstances kind of push us to learn, right? Energetic sovereignty and learning to be gentle and kind with ourselves. So I think that's one of the major lessons that also Cancer season brings to us, to bring that level of comfort, to bring that safety for ourselves first, and then move forward. And June is usually a month where we're being prepared. Of course, everybody has their own cycles through the year, but for me, I feel like June is when I start receiving somewhat direction, and July is when things come together. Everything, the foundations are set, and August, September is when energy moves in a very different way. Right now, it still feels like a bit inward. And then slowly things go outwards. So just be gentle on yourself, allow things to emerge. Of course, if this doesn't resonate with you and you're in a different place, that's totally cool. You flow in the way that is your own. But I just thought I'd mention this because sometimes when we're working with this void, black hole, dark force, it might feel like we're getting lost in it, but sometimes reminding ourselves that even the deviation is the path helps. So yeah, this is my little reminder. And yeah, and with that, I guess we close, because this is really all that we wanted to share with you guys for this month. And we look forward to seeing you next time. And we will see when we meet. When the time comes, we shall meet. Thank you.